Fish are friends, not food.
I'm a little worried about Rob.
Yes, it's happening.
Ever since we tried to summon Cthulhu, he hasn't been the same.
I'm growing gills. Gills! My transformation into a deep one has finally begun.
Rob, we don't see any gills.
It's these kids getting involved in all this stuff causes them to go crazy.
I think I feel the webbing starting to grow between my fingers.
Welcome to Dinner and a Board Game, a new actual play show about friends, good food, and lots of fun at the gaming table. We're your hosts, Megan and Heath. Each night, I'll invite the gaming group over to my house to cook dinner, sample drinks, and play a board game on one of our customized board game boards. Dinner and a Board Game is an actual play show where you'll be able to watch the game from start to finish, with gameplay dashboards and graphics that help track the turns and allow everyone to follow the game's action. We'll play games like Zombicide, Black Plague, Descent, Journeys in the Dark, Small World, Unearth, and Terraforming Mars. We'll even be joined by special guests such as Lou Anders, J.F. Lewis, and cosmic horror artist David LaRocca. The show is free to watch on YouTube. Just come by my channel, Heath Robinson, and be sure to subscribe. Click Watch Now to start the first episode and join us for fun-filled evenings of Dinner and a Board Game. And now it's time for General Geekdom, the roundtable show about movies, games, books, and other things going on in the fantasy and sci-fi genres, as well as all the geekverse. Hey, everybody. So I really have got to work on a variety of different intros for all the different shows, but that's been low priority lately. But it is so good to see everybody here again. I wasn't planning on going live like this here. I was planning on doing some other things and working on some core creative work, as we were talking about in the morning grind this morning, and then doing the wind down tonight. But hey, news is breaking, so we should get involved. So let's see what's going on. Hey, what does everybody have to say? We're gonna pull it up and we're gonna go through it. I was reading through it, and we're going to talk about it. I didn't want to just, I've been thinking about it while I eat lunch. I had to eat lunch, so I had to think about this and see what we think. So what is everybody saying? Who have we got here? Pauper Knight, welcome. Pauper Knight is here. Good to see you. Good afternoon from the Eastern time zone. I'm here in the Central time zone. Jeopard says, this statement is better, but still wording things funny. Mute Donkey, hello. Good morning from the West. Marcel Varadsdonk, good evening, Varadsdonk. Good evening from the EU. Good evening. So excited? Well, I am too. I want to know what everybody has to say. Woodrow Smith, hello. Jaffard says, spoiler alert, they didn't quite cave. That seems to be a reasonable reading, I think. Pauper Knight says, I just don't trust that bullet point about currently existing OGL 1.A work being unaffected. All that implies is that they don't intend to leave 1.A for future works. I think that's an exceptional point. And that was one of the things that I was going through. And when I was reading this, I was seeing that I have trouble with that point as well. I don't think it's necessarily pessimism. I mean, they have not engendered a huge amount of trust, right? I mean, so far at the moment. So, I think that is needed. So we will see. Piano TM says, it's clear they intend to deauthorize it. And what stops them from just changing their new OGL to get rid of the 1.0A's protection? Well, I want to see it tonight on the wind down. If you didn't see last night I had an interview, which I think was fantastic, with Bob Tarantino, who was the guy who wrote the dissertation on the OGL, right? And we went over that. And so he is an IP attorney. He's an entertainment law attorney up in Canada. And he wrote his PhD dissertation for his degree in IP law on the OGL. And I thought that he provided a tremendous number of clarifications on this issue. And so I thought it was a fantastic interview. I was going to start clipping it. Like, really, the next thing I was going to do was like, well, I need to clip that information in order to get it out there. But the whole live stream interview is available now. I still highly recommend people watch that. And the clips will be coming. Keep the pressure up. Keep the pressure up. Oh, ZR4K says this is only PR damage control to attempt to spin the narrative. Well, it was a better release than the other one was. I mean, they may have learned something about damage control and PR and stuff, because as we had talked about, somebody had asked, Ryan Dancing when we were on the stream last Friday night, does this sound like something that was written by a PR firm to be wishy-washy? And our answer was no. His answer was, but mine as well, was like, no, this is way too wishy-washy, and not what you would want to say if you were actually an experienced PR firm in crisis management. Well, now see, Jeopardy, we talked about the language of deauthorization and revocation on the live stream with Bob Tarantino. And I was very encouraged by what he was saying about revocation, but then we also specifically talked about this idea of deauthorization. And I'm paraphrasing here. Check out the stream and there'll be clips coming. But he was also saying that as far as he knows, there's no legal mechanism for someone to just deauthorize a license like this. So we'll see. Oh, hey, Judy. Judy's here. Welcome. Hey, Left Spin. Left Spin's here. Hi, Left Spin. Good afternoon. See everybody. Okay, so everybody is coming in. So good to see you. All right, I'm going to pull this up. I'm not going to be able to go through everybody's comments today, probably. But I do want to know what everybody's saying. So, yeah. So, Piano TM says, he said he has no idea what deauthorize means in a legal context. Right. So that was important. So, all right, let me bring up the screen. So here we are. I suppose everybody's read it by now. So tonight, I was still planning on doing the wind down live stream tonight, which is like at 7:30 p.m. So that's still the plan. I don't know how long we'll go here. This may not be a stream that's all that long, but I thought that we should at least take a look at this, see what everybody's thinking. And then on the wind down stream tonight, I was thinking that we should process everything that's happened over the since Bob's interview and determine what our situation is. But now tonight we can contextualize this. We'll have a little bit more time to sort of sit and think about this, but also contextualize this within Bob's context. Well, see, I'm noticing. No, thank you to people who were talking about the audio, because I think that some people who gave me some better feedback about about what the audio situation was on some of the other clips. I think I finally resolved that. So thank you to the people who told me that it was wrong, because the solution that I thought was resolving the situation was clearly not. I am noticing over here that I'm broadcasting from the country, so sometimes the internet's all that great, and I'm noticing that it's telling me that the connection is a lower level, but there's nothing I can do about that right now. I've got everything down on my side, so I've noticed that the afternoon live streams, it seems like the internet connection's weaker here, so I suppose that's everybody using it. But anyway. All right, let's get to this. So this is on D&D Beyond, a working conversation about the open game license OGL. And this is by Kyle Brink. And I looked that up. I was not familiar with this name. So if we go down to the bottom, it does say Kyle Brink, executive producer, Dungeons and Dragons. So does that mean... now, I think that Ryan Dancy had the title of vice president. But I wonder if this means that this is the guy who basically had Ryan Dancy's job. I wonder if that's the equivalent. So let's just start at the top, and then I'll read some and then bounce over to the comments too. So it says, hi, I'm Kyle Brink, the executive producer on D&D. It's my team that makes the game we all play. D&D has been a huge part of my life for a long time before I worked at Wizards, and will be for a long time after I'm done. My mission, and that of the entire D&D team, is to help bring everyone the creative joy and lifelong friendships that D&D has given us. These past few weeks have been incredibly tough for everyone. As players, fans, and stewards of the game, we can't, and we won't, let things continue like this. I am here today to talk about a path forward. All right. So now we have our first statement that is really starting something. First, though, let me start with an apology. We are sorry. We got it wrong.
this one feels so. I mean, I think that's a good statement, right? I'm glad that he started with that. He said that, and he basically led off with this. There was an apology in the other statement, right? It was said, "I'm sorry," like we're sorry, but it didn't come off as terribly sincere. I would say this is more direct, right? First, though, let me start with an apology. We are sorry. We got it wrong. Well, they did, yes. Kyle joined D&D Beyond 2 hours ago. Let's see. Mike Fuller Jr. says, how new is this news? Well, it is new as of, what, an hour ago? This is an hour ago. So this is pretty new. I was trying to think of it during lunch. Sorry, let's see. Pauper says the delivery was more positive, but still meddles with the way things stand currently. If it isn't broken, don't try and fix it. Okay. So join. Okay, as far as an account goes, okay, I got you. So I see. So what people are saying, Kyle is such a fan of D&D, he didn't even have a D&D Beyond account until he needed to make a PR statement. I see what people are catching on to now. Words only matter if they are followed by actions. True. Yeah. So that's well, if he's an executive producer, maybe not. Okay. So we started with that. So all right. So at least they admit that we got it wrong. This is definitely getting it wrong. Our language and requirements in the draft OGL were disruptive to creators and not in support of our core goals of protecting and cultivating an inclusive play environment and limiting the OGL to TTRPGs. Boy, was it. So yes, disruptive to creators and definitely disruptive to creators. All of a sudden, all the creators were like going, oh my God, what is happening here? And not in support of our core goals of creating an inclusive play environment and limiting the OGL to tabletop RPGs. Then we compounded things by being silent for too long. I do like it when people explain what it is that is the problem. So yes, this is the problem. What you did was extremely disruptive. And then yes, you did compound it by being silent for too long. We hurt fans and creators. Yes, you did. When more frequent communications could have prevented so much of this. Yes, the long silence was that. So I do like that. I mean, I like that paragraph. That does say that they understand what went wrong. Now, not everything wrong with the OGL and the draft, but, in a specific sense. But I do like that paragraph. Kental's World says they should keep 1.0A active and release the new OGL for only one D&D and let creators continue to use the old OGL for the old games. Well, it seems to be, in my opinion, based on listening to to Ryan Dancy and then Bob Tarantino, that you can't un-OGL. You can't get rid of the 1.0A OGL. And you can publish under any authorized version. And it seems that the idea of deauthorizing it is not something that is out there in legal terms. We have to keep pressing for that. And so, so that seems to be the situation, that 1.0A would remain active going forward. Still trying to spin this as a draft. That's still a lie, and thus nothing else here can be trusted except spin. Stray 7. Stray. So that's right. So this is still, the idea, I don't know the idea of it being sent around with contracts. Like, I wasn't something that I was have access to or was known, but that seems to be out there. If that wasn't true, then that should be said. Yeah, so the other main one being the OGL we saw was a draft when it absolutely wasn't, or obviously wasn't. Oh, good thinking. So I saved a snapshot on the Wayback Machine just in case. They won't be able to edit it. Oh, see, I was wondering when this was going to get in. Rick Berner says the Motley Fool has started to cover this in their advice to investors, saying that WotC did not score a win with this. Well, that's great. See, I keep wondering now when this is going to break into the other sides of Geekverse, the other side of the Geekverse that is not tabletop games. It has to do with the movie. We've seen some mainstream coverage. We're talking about. I've seen some mainstream coverage. We are talking about. Hang on, let me try to change something up with the camera just to see if this helps. There is one other thing I could do. Just thought of it. So maybe that helps with lag. We will see. But all right, I've seen some stuff in mainstream news, right? But not a lot. And I haven't actually been able to follow it all that closely. But I keep wondering when this is actually going to affect the stock price and then also have something to do with the other side of the Geekverse that enjoy things like movies and the TV shows, because there was the TV show announcement too. That's still so yeah, that's still a big thing. So everybody is also lots of people talking about still working with draft. So lots of people do not like that. Okay, you're telling me Kickstarter signed a draft at 20% with Hasbro Vision. Yeah, that's I agree. I agree. Quite a draft if Kickstarter needed to sign it. Yeah. Yeah. See, Random says the issue isn't deauthorizing it. Well, that was a huge issue to me. But Random says the issue isn't deauthorizing it, but that anyone who wants to be compatible with the new D&D stuff will have to agree to the new version, and that can have an impact on rights because it's voluntary. Well, but that's what we've been saying. If they want to create some kind of new license for 1 D&D or 6th edition or whatever you want to call it, well, fine. And then we can either like 6th edition or not like 6th edition, or sign on to whatever or sign on to whatever new license or not as we like. It can have as whatever draconian terms in as we want, but that's it can have whatever terms it wants. But what it can't do is it can't do anything. It can't deauthorize. It can't revoke. It can't stop 1.0A. Black Barnes, watch the stream with Bob Tarantino last night. Watch that. That was the legal side of that. Okay, let's keep going over here. Starting now, we're going to do this a better way, more open and transparent with our entire community of creators, with the time to iterate, time to get feedback and to improve. Well, this is how all this should have started to begin with. If this sounds familiar, it's because it's how we do it for the game itself. So let's do it that way for the OGL too. Well, okay, but I wish you had started that way. We'll listen to you, and then we will share what we have heard, much as we do with our Unearthed Arcana and 1 D&D playsets. This will be a robust conversation before we release any future version of the OGL. I'm going to be very caught up on the language regarding what type of thing they're doing with the OGL. In fact, let's go over here to the Open Gaming Foundation and Open Gaming Licenses. So here it is, and we are specifically interested in the Open Gaming License from Wizards of the Coast, and number 9 here, section 9, which I've been covering a lot in some other videos on the subject. Updating the license. Wizards or its designated agents may publish updated versions of the license. Okay, it does say updated version. So maybe when they say version, we're talking about an updated version. We're not talking about a new license. So that's one thing, because they do have the power to publish updated versions of this license. You may use any authorized version of this license to copy, modify, and distribute any open game content originally distributed under any version of this license. 1.0A has been authorized, and we do not believe there's any way to deauthorize a license of this sort. At least that was according to Bob last night. So we should be able to continue to use 1.0A to license all of the material and use all the material that was under it. So we've got this term updated version, though. So let's go back over here. This will be a robust conversation before we release any future version of the OGL. Now, they're welcome to release a new version of the OGL, but that does not mean that we have to use it. The new version of the OGL can say whatever it wants, but 1.0A is an authorized version, and there remains no way to deauthorize it. That is our understanding here. on this channel, at least my understanding after talking to people on this subject. So 1.0a stands. We don't have to use whatever comes next. If they release a version, they don't have to. We don't have to publish under it. That was part of the FAQ. There's no reason for them to publish a version that we don't like, because we can always publish under previous versions. Let's see. Yeah, see, Fezador says it doesn't matter if they create GSL 2.0 or whatever at this point. The problem is they have already shown that they believe OGL 1.0a is no longer safe to publish under unless you want to go to court. See, that's why the position that I was holding to and Ryan Dancy was holding to, and I believe this was Mark Tassin's position as well. They were talking about that what we want from Wizards is a statement, and Ryan was talking about how you could make this stick. But what we want is a statement from Wizards, basically directly, that the OGL 1.0a cannot be deauthorized and it cannot be revoked, because that's the understanding that everybody in the tabletop gaming industry has had for years. And it seems that everybody, all the publishers that I know, everybody has that understanding of the OGL. That's how the understanding under which everything has been published under for the last 20 years. And now, for some reason, because of that leak week and a half ago, whenever it was, it seems like the only player in the game that says, now, wait a minute, maybe I've got a different opinion on that, is Wizards. And we need to know that Wizards of the Coast is playing ball with the rest of the tabletop gaming community and understands and recognizes that 1.0a is as it is irrevocable and unauthorizable, undeauthorizable, and agrees with Paizo and everybody else on that subject. That's what we need. So that's why we need that clarification to say, if we want to go beyond that and do something else with a new license, some people have asked, can we just add words to a new license? It doesn't sound like they're going to do that. But some people have said, can we just take 1.0a, make a new version that is identical, but add the word irrevocable? And does that work? And so we've talked about that a lot on this channel. But the most clearest way to do that is to still to resolve this issue, really, is for Wizards of the Coast to issue that statement, 1.0a is irrevocable and cannot be deauthorized, to let us know that they are playing ball with the rest of the game community as they have been for the past 22 years. So that's right. They're threatening that. And the value of the open gaming license is huge. I've been talking about that on this channel. And I have a lot more respect now for the open gaming license, as we've been covering it for the past week and a half, for what it is, what it does for us, everything, and the community that is created around these games. So 1.0a is very important. Now, what we do after that can be different. But recognizing exactly what 1.0a is, to me, is the line. That is the line. That's what we have to say. James says, this statement is a classic case of closing the stable doors after the horse is bolted. We don't trust them ever again. Well, there's that. But also the idea with the release of 1.0a, when that happened, when we went open gaming, that was horses leaving the barn as well. And now people are trying to put things, they're trying to put it back in the, put the horses back, or close the gate after the horses have left. Yeah. So why do they need a new OGL if the prior is so airtight? They need to really explain their purpose here without the bullshit, as Joshua says. So yeah, well, we do. So over here, we think that the OGL is airtight and it is doing what it is supposed to do, that it was intended to be what it is, and that it is what it is. Intended to be what it is, that was been my conversation with Ryan Dancy. He's convinced me of that. Being that it is what it is, from the legal side, talking to Bob Tarantino convinced me of that. So it's airtight, but they don't like that. They don't like that it's airtight, because, as Lou was pointing out to me in a text, that the biggest competition that 6th edition Dungeons and Dragons or 1 D&D is going to have is 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. And that is released under open game content. You can't un-OGL. That open content is out there. So whatever it is that they're releasing would have to compete with it. Now, the obvious way to compete with it, if you want to do it legitimately, is to just make 1 D&D or 6th edition D&D, whatever they're calling it, so fantastic that everybody makes the jump. Oh, I've got to play this. This is so much better than 5th edition. We've invested a lot in 5th edition, but all we're making the jump. That's the way to do it. And then you can license that under whatever terms you want to license that under. All right. And then we can publish under it or not. But that's the competition. So that's why I think they're trying to make sure that this, trying to un-OGL. Right. Tiger Eyes sent a super chat. Thank you so much, Tiger Eyes. Thank you so much for being here. $20 super chat. Thank you very much. Extremely generous. Tiger Eyes says, personally, I will never trust Wizards of the Coast because they have shown their hand. They have definitely lost a lot of trust here. When a predator fails to catch prey, they do not turn herbivore. Paizo et al. Orc are the future. I will use 1.0A till Orc, and then everything I do will be Orc, Pathfinder 2nd edition. So I think this is a great point that they've really got to do a whole lot more if they want to gain trust again. And this is trust. We made the distinction last night or a couple of nights ago, whenever. There's trust in WotC and there's trust in 1.0A. And we still have a lot of faith in the 1.0A is what we need again. But the company of Wizards of the Coast is the one that has lost a whole bunch of trust and their attitude toward it and the community. And we need clarification on that. We also, and this will be a clip that comes out, but in the Bob Tarantino interview, I specifically asked him, can you take open game content that was published under 1.0A and then publish it under a new license, any arbitrary person? And of course, that new license I was thinking about is Orc. And he said that he didn't see any reason why you couldn't. So see that clip. I've got to find it. I hadn't started clipping, but it's in that interview. So I thought that was fascinating, and I think that's something the community needs to hear. So if you're worried about losing access to, excuse me, the 3.0, 3.5, 5th edition SRD, that material is open game content, as far as my understanding is, and seems to be everybody's understanding that I've talked to. That's open game content. You can't un-open game content. And if you have that open content, Wizards of the Coast doesn't need to publish that content under Orc. Any arbitrary person can do that because it's open game content. It would still be licensed and licensable under 1.0A, but that's a big win, I think. RJ Stone, right here. RJ Stone with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. $10. Thank you so much for being here. Very generous. Very glad to have you here. It says they haven't been playing ball for the last 20 years. 3rd edition had OGL. 4th edition did so. Pathfinder was spawned. Well, yes. Okay. That is an excellent point. But back then they had the gaming license, a different kind of gaming license for 4th edition, right? Which nobody wanted to publish under. So it was clearly a history of hostility toward the 1.0A being there. That, this has become an obstacle. Totally new set of rules, totally new license. Now that's fine because they didn't try to revoke, deauthorize, do any weird thing like that with 1.0A. That they seemed to at least have the right understanding then. Now they didn't like it, so they moved to a different license, but that's fine, right? What they didn't do at that time, and they tried to have some draconian language in there. I found out it was like, well, if you publish for 4th edition, you're giving up your rights to publish under 1.0A, which was ridiculous. So there was certainly hostility to 1.0A, and they thought that, hey, maybe we can make more money or make a more effective game system and whatever else if we just create a whole new system and then license it under something else. That failed. And then, of course, they returned to it in 5th edition. But now, at least they were playing ball. What I meant was that they still had the understanding, it seems, that they weren't trying to deauthorize, they weren't trying to revoke or anything like that, because the understanding was correct, the same understanding everybody else had, presumably, that we can't do that. So we got to come up with a different solution. 4th edition, completely new license. But now that's why I say when you're trying to do something like revoke, or when you actually have a difference of opinion regarding the legal status of 1.0A, that's what I was talking about by all of a sudden not paying ball. But excellent way to point that out, RJ Stone. Yes, they have a demonstrated history of hostility to this. Okay, let's go on. So here's what to expect. On or before Friday, January 20th, we'll share new proposed OGL documentation for your review and feedback, much as we did with playtest materials. Well, okay, you should have done that long before. But okay, we will definitely take a look at it and we will give you feedback. We are good here at giving feedback. After your review, the proposed after you review the proposed OGL, you will be able to fill out a quick survey, much like Unearthed Arcana feedback, playtesting, and surveys. It will ask you specific questions about the document and include open form fields to share any feedback you might have. The survey will remain open for at least 2 weeks, and we'll give you advance notice before it closes so that everyone who wants to participate can complete the survey. All right, well, we will definitely be doing that. When we compile, analyze, react to, and present, then we will compile, analyze, react to, and present back what we have heard from you. Finally, you deserve, all right, well, we'll take a look at it and provide feedback, so sure. Finally, you deserve some stability and clarity. We are committed to giving creators both input to and a room to prepare for any updates to the OGL. Well, it didn't seem that way up until today, so you've got some work to come back from. Also, there's a ton of stuff that isn't going to be affected by an OGL update. So today, right now, we'll lay out all of those areas that this conversation won't touch. Any changes to the OGL will have no impact on at least, so this is not an inclusive list or a complete list. It says at least on these creative efforts. Yeah. See, that's the language here, that if they want to release an updated version, they're welcome to, but nobody has to use it because we've got 1.0a and we like it. Yeah, they're going to get Desist Dawdling says, yeah, they're about to get some feedback. They're definitely going to get that. They're still not giving exactly what I wanted to hear. They're still not giving inner light. They're still not giving exactly the language that Ryan Dancy and I had said this is what they need to say. But this is what they say will not be influenced. Your video content, whether you're a commentator, streamer, podcaster, live play cast member, or other video creator on platforms like YouTube and Twitch and TikTok, you have always been covered by the Wizards fan content policy. The OGL doesn't and won't touch any of this. And we need to go over that at some point, the fan content policy. But okay, that was also in the leak. There was the distinction between some things that will be under the 1.1 and then a fan content policy. Your accessories for your owned content. No changes to the OGL. See, I don't like the word change because it's not possible. See, that word, that bothers me. It's not possible to change the OGL. It is possible to update it. It is possible to publish updated versions. That's completely allowed. We know that it's possible to publish updated versions. There's nothing in this license that says that they can change it. That's not possible. They cannot change it. That you're right that there's no change that can affect it because it's not possible to change the OGL. And yet he's using this word change here. If he were talking about publishing updated versions, well, okay, then I would understand. But no changes to the OGL will affect these things because as far as I'm concerned, it's not possible to change the OGL. But okay, will not affect your ability to sell minis, novels, apparel, dice, and other items related to your creations, characters, and worlds, which is not anything they have control over anyway. Non-published works, for instance, contracted services. You use the OGL if you want to publish your works that reference 5th edition content through the SRD. That means commissioned work, paid DM services, consulting, and so on aren't affected by the OGL. That seems to be a good realization. That is, you use the OGL if you want to publish your works that reference, more than reference though, quote, right? That's been a big thing. Quote 5th edition content, but also 3rd edition or 3.5 edition because all those are out there as well. Drit says, here's the deal. Until the lawyers in the community see this go up and release their videos breaking this down, no one review anything. You know they're going to go way harder on legalese this time. Tiger Eyes with another super chat, a $10 super chat. Thank you, Tiger Eyes. Tiger Eyes, $10, says, Orc will always be superior because it will not be owned by a company, but neutral, firm, open content foundation. WotC will always own 1.0a and future version. Boom, end of sentence. And I don't think that you can understate that. I was talking to Bob Tarantino about that last night, and I was asking how important that is. And of course, there seem to be two sides of that. There seemed to be the side that is exclusively the legal side. That if it seemed to me that if you have exactly the version 1.0a as it stands, talking about exactly that language, and you have one license that you're using, but that license happens to be copyright by Wizards of the Coast, but then you also have exactly that license again with other language that is copyright or otherwise owned by a neutral third party. We'll say a third party that doesn't publish role-playing games. Is there inherent legal value to that difference? And it seems to be, from the discussion with Bob, he was saying that no, there wouldn't be. There wouldn't be something that, as far as legally, that you would be able to do or not do under one or the other. If it's the exact same terms, we're talking about the exact same terms. But I have got to agree with you that, since we can use whatever license we want to use, there may be things that people like about one license more than another, right? That, well, you would use it because you perceive an advantage. And clearly, an advantage that people are perceiving is the ownership. So whether or not there is a clear legal point here, like, would it mean anything one way or another? The psychology of it is so important. And the consumer trust is so important. So that I don't think you can discount. So I think that's an important distinction, that legally it might not make a difference, but clearly from the psychological perspective and what people want, the loss of trust in WotC, right, matters. So I would say that, people are always talking about, well, what advantage would a new license give you, or an update to a license give you, that would make you want to publish under it? Well, that is one. Even if it's not a clear legal distinction, it's certainly a psychological advantage. Desist Dawdling says, "Hey Heath, did you see Indestructiboy's video about the Humble Bundle coming out to support Orc?" I did not. That is interesting. We'll have to check that up. Check up on that. Thank you for pointing that out. Vision says, "Yep, it's about the trust." Well, and Master says, yeah, those are not beyond corruption anyway. I mean, what the Linux or the Linus Foundation or something like that was what Paizo was talking about. But yeah, it's not like there's something that is completely beyond corruption. Oh, PJF just sent a super chat. Thank you, PJF. Good to see you. Wonderful to see you here. $5 super chat. Thank you. You will have to log into D&D Beyond in order to comment on that new draft, trying to undo the mass unsubscribing effort. Oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't think about that, because I do have a D&D Beyond account. I was not subscribed, but I do have one because I've been playing in a game, or had been playing in a game that used it quite extensively. So surely you won't have to subscribe in order to comment. But we need to check up on that. We need to be able to check up on that. So yeah, Sam says you should be able to comment with a free account. I would like. It seems surely that's going to be the case. Surely that's going to be the case. All right. So the DM's Guild content, and I admit I don't know a whole lot about the DM's Guild. I went over and flipped through it, but I've never actually bought anything from that or released something. The content you release on DM's Guild is published under a community content agreement with the Dungeons and Masters Guild. This is not changing. So I think that seems to be the case, because the Dungeons and Masters Guild, you can actually use their IP. You can actually use their property identity, their product identity. So you can actually write things in Waterdeep and things like that. So that was my understanding. That was under a completely different agreement as well. Now, this comes to the crux of it. This is important right here. Your OGL 1.0 content. Nothing will impact any content you have published under OGL 1.A. That will always be licensed under OGL 1.A. This one is not anywhere near as clear as I want it to be, and it does not say what we want it to say as far as the line in the sand is. If they needed to make this was their place to make their statement regarding what they think about OGL 1.A very clear. What they needed to say here was that nothing will impact publication under OGL 1.0A because it is both irrevocable and not capable of being deauthorized. This language right here still sounds like they are not doing what they need to do. It says nothing will impact any content you have published. That needed to say have published or will publish. because that's also trying to set up, it seems to me, like one of these buckets where you're going to have something that's grandfathered in and you're going to have things that are not grandfathered in. Nothing will impact any content you have published under 1.01a. Okay, that's good, but it's not where we need to be. So that will, we got all these books with this printed in the back. That will always be licensed under OGL 1.0a. But the giant thing that's missing here, is their recognition that we can continue to publish under 1.0a all we want. And we talked about there are other games that have nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons that have been published under 1.0a. Other games that have nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons at all have used the open game license. And we've talked about here on this channel and on the streams why that's so important. That there are other trees in the OGL forest, in the open gaming forest, other trees than just Dungeons and Dragons. Now, that's a very large tree that has all these branches and stuff coming off of it because of the OGL. But there are other trees in the forest with all their own branches coming off of it. This does not affect that, right? Because it can't. Because the OGL is a document out there. You can continue to use, and you use for this game, other games, and in perpetuity, as far as I am concerned. Yeah, Kirk says it's totally always licensed under 1.0a. History is set in stone. We can't possibly change that. I mean, we could still revoke 1.0a, but that doesn't mean it wasn't published under OGL, under 1.0a, right? Well, Jafford says, yeah, we will definitely. I loved the Paizo statement. Had a party. I mean, I'm all about that. So that's what Wizards of the Coast needed to say. There's their language and their statements about what was going on here. It liked, right? So that's why I supported it. I like that statement they put out. We will, of course, look very closely at Orc once it actually is released. Yeah, see, that's it. So anyone 3 months into making content they will release in 3 months from now are still screwed. That seems to be what this implies. And they've got to make that clear. And I'm kind of refusing to believe here that they didn't notice that Kirk here didn't notice this oversight. I don't know, because I'm not in anybody's mind. But am I going? Is it more probable that after all of this and trying to write this statement, they didn't notice that, or that they wrote this in error or ignorance? I don't know. We don't know. But at the moment, I have to feel like it's more probable that this was a deliberate omission, which the community should not accept. I'm not accepting, and the community should not accept. Fesdor says they could just publish under 1.a and hope Paizo will fight them in court. Well, right. That's the thing. If they really cared about the community, they would have posted the survey before looking into changing any licenses. Yeah. So T. Rainin says that there are two key problems with the last two. Okay, so let's look at that. But to me, this one is so critical. That's where they should have said what we wanted them to say and failed to. They do say your revenue. There will be no royalty or financial reporting requirements. That's good? Or is there something that's wiggling around in here that we hadn't noticed? Because we talked about the royalty issue is huge, and then also just financial reporting requirements as far as the burden on third-party publishers. No royalty or financial reporting requirements. Your ownership of your content. You will continue to own your content with no license back requirements. We had talked about, okay, ownership is great because that leak said you own your content. Don't worry, you own it. You own it. It's just that you're going to give to us the worldwide irrevocable, royalty-free licenses to use everything that you do. So I get, we take these, but this is still the hard line I think that we have to draw right up here. He does say, that's all from me right now. You will hear again from us on or before Friday, as described above, and we look forward to the conversation. Well, we will definitely have one. Jefferson says, in my opinion, they're saying they will leave 1.0 alone and will publish newer materials under OGL 2.0. You can publish 5e materials with OGL 1, but you will need OGL 2 for 1 D&D. I'm hoping that's the case as well. But they sure didn't clarify that, because you would still be able to publish, continue. They need to be absolutely clear about that. The legal status of 1.0a, and that you can still continue to publish under stuff. Under that. And then if there is OGL 2.0 and they release the SRD under that, okay, well then we can choose to accept it or not. But you're right. But the 5th edition material is out there and it's licensed. Sam Botha says, I hope the use of OGL 1.0 will be a topic on the survey. Likely would be. Likely they may add special bonuses to any new OGL that gives them some benefits to move away from 0.1. Otherwise, nobody may. Well, right. And in fact, I was discussing that with somebody else while I was having lunch before I came on the stream. They need to be more carrot. This was this other person's phraseology here. They need to be more carrot than stick. If they want people to move over to some kind of new license for whatever type of game system this is, they need to provide benefits to doing that. The benefits of the rule set would be it's better, right? I mean, the creative team needs to get on that. You need to move over to this game system because the rules we're working under are just plain better. You know, they're just better and you're going to enjoy them more. You would think game designers would be on that. So that would be part one of this. Make just this game better. And then 2, provide bonuses and things that actually materially make it a better license. That people would go, oh, well, yeah, man, I definitely want a license under that. Like, as was brought up to me, hey, you can now use beholders, or now you can use the UONT and other things like that. Well, that would also be a bonus if they, said you can use certain parts of their product identity under a new license. Some people might like that. But yeah, I completely agree with the sentiment of carrots and not sticks, because they were very stick heavy. And if they want us to move, then they need to be carrot heavy. So let's see here. So Daniel P says there will be no royalty or financial reporting requirements on what? This is way too vague. So people are having commentary on that. Jappard says, it says you aren't required to report, not about having to pay royalty. There'll be no royalty. Well, okay. So we're under that reading that sentence. There'll be no royalty reporting requirements. Might not have to, they still have to pay royalty. Yeah, this is, dear Miss Loner, exactly. Yeah, the revenue situation, people are talking about the revenue situation. I don't have all those numbers in front of me, but it is the case that Wizards of the Coast makes up a huge part of Hasbro. We were finding that out. But Magic the Gathering, I think, makes up a huge part of Wizards of the Coast. But Dungeons and Dragons has been making up an increasingly large part of it, is my understanding. And that they want to increase the revenue on that side a lot more. Oh, whoa, Millmaster, a $100 super chat. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for being here. It's very much appreciated. Helping me continue doing this. I only started live streaming on a daily basis. I did some experiments with it over the summer, but I only decided to start live streaming here about 2.5 months ago. And so this is kind of blown up. It's been great. Millmaster says, thank you for all the work you're doing for the community. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, Marcus Aurelius. I agree. I agree completely. I agree completely with that. So we try to be constructive here. My philosophy is being constructive. That doesn't mean that we can't talk about things we don't like, but I don't like endless negativity. I like being constructive. And I think the conversations that we have here are. So I'm very glad that it's beneficial to you. And I really appreciate that, Millmaster. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Right. So Yes, we should be careful in our reading now. They haven't earned a generous interpretation of their wording. I got you. Yeah, that's desist dawdling. That's my problem. That's my problem. Nothing will impact the content you published under the OGL 1.A. That will always be licensed under OGL 1.A. That's a slight breath of relief because we've been concerned over what are they going to say about the status of books. They're like, but it doesn't say that about published future things, and you must have that. They must recognize that. Plundy says if they leave anything in about them being able to change anything about the OGL 2.0 at any time within 30 days notice, then nothing they say or propose matters. Well, we wouldn't publish under that, right? Yeah, I mean, that would be ridiculous. But if they want some type of weird license that's something completely different, that is not for a different thing, and remember, because we can always still choose to publish under 1.0A. So if 2.0 has some ridiculous stuff like that, then we're not publishing under it. Well, this is also important. Liar Speaks the Truth says, if anyone else worried that the survey is going to have a fair bit of torque applied to the questions? Yeah, you can write questions if you, especially if you know about doing marketing research or qualitative methods research academically. How you word questions is so important. Yeah. That's the last Phoenix. That's what we're all picking up on. That was because there are other things here, but to me, that's what I was looking for, and that's the line in the sand there. That they need to be much more direct. Yeah, I have Vision says to be. I'll be honest, I can't afford $30 a month. I can barely afford the $5.99 a month. So I guess I'll just get to lose out on using Beyond. WTH. Way to price out customers. Guess I'm too poor to play D&D. Yeah, we haven't actually talked about the pricing structure on this channel yet. I'm not sure where all that came from. There was a leak or something like that, so we haven't covered all that over here, at least yet. NC with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, NC. Thank you. NC says, I feel like they are wanting to require the D&D Beyond sub to take the surveys to get that bottom line back up, since all they care about. I cannot see that they would do that. I mean, they might, but like surely right now that you don't have to actually subscribe to it in order to get it. Surely not. We'll hold their feet to the fire on that. I mean, if that happened, there would be there's already an eruption. That'd be another eruption. I see, but Piano, I don't. Can they do that though? Because you can there's no way for them to get rid of 1.0 as my understanding. Now Piano TM, if you've been following, was someone who has always been in the chat. It's been here for quite a while with us, and very much on the side of the irrevocability and not deauthorized nature of this. So Piano has been definitely right before. Piano has been beating that drum for a long time and very early. Daniel P says, WotC still clearly doesn't understand that it has caused immense harm to their relationship with the community. Until they address that, there will be no trust in these posts. They've got to demonstrate a lot more. We'll go here for about 7 or 8 more minutes to go for an hour, because I don't know what else there is to say. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about in the chat. And then we should all probably breathe, and then we'll talk about it on the wind down tonight. I'm going to see if I can pull together a panel for the wind down tonight. Don't know who's going to be available, but I'm going to try. Let's see. Genghis Krom says, there has been much press directly linking these D&D shenanigans with the lost blowback over the recent turmoil. Has there been much press directly linking these D&D shenanigans with the last blowback over the recent turmoil in the cash cow of Magic the Gathering? I don't know anything about the Magic and Gathering situation because I'm an extremely casual Magic player. I play with my nephews when I can, and I'm not involved with the online part at all. But I've heard that this goodwill, this lack of trust, if you are both a Magic player and a D&D player, this has really got to feel like a double whammy. So I suppose if you have been through all of whatever happened with a break of trust and breach of trust, I understand with like releasing some cards they said they would never re-release or something like that. Through that with them, you have a double reason. Your reason for not trusting them has been exponential. let's see. This is the biggest part of the OGL 1.0 is that it requires the user to license the included OGC on the same terms. The biggest part of the OGL 1.0 is that it requires the user to license the included OGC on the same terms. Yes, okay, yes. So that you, right. So if that's right. So if you have open gaming content in your book, right, and then you put the open gaming license in there, and you identify what part is open gaming content, and then it also goes back out. It goes through your book. It goes through your book to something else. So if somebody else finds your book and knows nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, and whoa, hang on, we've got a visitor. All right, we have more discussion. It's Lou.
Hey.
Hey.
I am sorry I didn't jump on earlier. I've been running around like a headless chicken, and I just made the worst cup of coffee I ever made in my life. The Magic situation was that, as I understand it, last year they came out with $1,000 set that took a bunch of classic Magic cards that have been that collectors trade and re-released them, devaluing the worth of everyone's collection, every hardcore collector's collection.
Lou, do you want to tell some of our regulars on the channel will know who you are because you're very popular here, but you want to tell people who you are? He is the author of the Thrones and Bones setting. He also advertises Thrones and Bones on the Morning Grind. But you want to tell them who you are, Lou, so people know what is going on?
I'm Lou Anders. I formerly was a science fiction fantasy editor and art director for 15 years. Before I became a children's book author, published 5 novels, 4 original and 1 Star Wars. And then in 2020, I released a 5th edition compatible RPG based on the Norse flavored land of my first novel, Norengard. And have 2 books and a player's guide out in that, and just crowdfunded another standalone 100-page adventure for that, which I hope I can publish, which apparently I can, according to Bob. And and that's who I am.
So Lou is a great person to pay attention to because he's not only a traditional published novelist, he's also written licensed Star Wars content, and then also independently publishes his own RPG stuff set in his world. So he does all the different sides of it. Lou, we had read through the thing on screen. What are your thoughts? What most stands out to you?
First, nothing that they've said is really that new from what they said with the last apology, and it doesn't matter. All that matters is what's actually in 2.0 and what they try and do when it comes out. And my thoughts are more about what's going on behind the scenes. I think that by opening this up on D&D Beyond, which is not in and of itself a bad idea, they're trying to move the conversation off the internet and onto a platform they control. Because this thing has gotten so big. It's been in Forbes. It's been in The Guardian. The Motley Fool just recommended people not invest in Hasbro yesterday. So they want to quell the angry voices online that have gotten loud enough that their shareholders have probably actually heard them now. And, now they're worried about things like the movie's box office, which I'm still not seeing. And so they want to move this conversation off the internet and onto D&D Beyond. 2, there's not enough transparency there. Even before any of this, when we were doing the playtest, the Unearthed Arcana playtest for 6.0, I refuse to call it 1D&D because it is 6.0. They just came back and said the responses were overwhelmingly positive. Everybody loves everything. It almost reminded me of when Trump said he tested positive for everything. Nobody loves everything. Everybody loves everything. Were they actually soliciting feedback, or were they just using the excuse of soliciting feedback to tell us what the feedback is? I'd like to hear 63% of the community likes this, 15% of the community hates it, another 20% of the community is on the fence, and 5% could care less. And I don't know if that adds up to 100 or not, but I don't know that there'll be any transparency in the feedback. I actually think that there should be an organized. We've got 2 weeks to submit feedback. I think that we should have a list of bullet points that everyone submits, so they just hear the same thing over and over again. But I feel like I don't know if I trust the feedback. I think this is an attempt to move the discussion offline onto their platform. I do not expect there to be transparency in the results. And I expect that after 2 weeks, they'll come forward and say, everybody loves 2.0. And also, when you do it on D&D Beyond, you're already, I mean, the other thing they're trying to do is, if the statistics are correct, they lost 40,000 subscribers in the last week to D&D Beyond. So by having the conversation on D&D Beyond, they're hoping to get us all back on. I don't think you'll have to be a subscriber to read and participate in this.
We were just talking about that.
But whether you do or not, I mean, I'm just kind of avoiding the site right now. I canceled my subscription, but I still have all the books there, and it's great to look stuff up when you're trying to write or design, but I'm trying to just stay off of it for most of my time. And they're trying to get everybody back engaged with it, engaged with them on D&D Beyond in a situation they control. So I'm suspicious of the whole effort, and which is not to say they shouldn't. This is what they should have done to begin with. But again, it all goes back to what you've been saying. Unless they admit that they can't deauthorize 1.0a, it really doesn't. It's not what we need. And then finally, as I think you pointed out earlier, what about people who are, I just backed 2 5th edition Kickstarters that launched yesterday. One from Cobalt Press and one from Jess Nevins. So a relatively big company and an independent person doing their first major 5th edition product. What happens to those? I know the Cobalt Press one is scheduled to deliver toward the end of this year. So it sounds like they're banking on this all going to effect at the end of the year still. But like Jess, this is his first major game book. Is he going to be able to bring it in this year? Can he publish it next year if he can't? Does collecting funds on Kickstarter count as already in print or not? Which is something I'm worried about. I crowdfunded in November, and I'm gonna, I originally had a June date for delivery, and I'm busting my butt every day to try and get this thing out as soon as possible so that it is published before the wall comes down.
I think we didn't get to talk about the submitting the stuff, but I had thought about that, the submitting the feedback through D&D Beyond, because then it's also not out in the public for people to cross promote and see or cross reference and see what other people are saying and things like this. They want to just send it into this black hole, right? And then there's no way that I would trust their response about what all that was. That has to be open and public, and talking about it on YouTube, talking about it in other places, and that has to be part of the conversation. We've got a super chat here. Czar, I'm not sure what that is, but 14 Czar. Thank you so much, Sam. There's no message attached to it, but thank you so much. Thank you very much, Sam. And then here, Monkey Gold has also sent in a super chat. Let me scroll down and find it. Lots of stuff coming in. Oh, so Monkey Gold says they want a digital ecosystem they own. There's a reason 4E, which was built to be on a VTT, was on a different license. It's unfathomable to me this is the homework assignment they turned in. Did they I skipped all of 4th edition. So it was VTT enabled. I mean, I know it was very tactical combat heavy, right? So it makes sense. But so yeah, they've left, they've come back, they've left again. What a mess. Did you see? We were talking about. Well, our main conversation was about. The main point here seems to be when they said nothing will impact the content you published under OGLA, which is partially right. I mean, partially the admission that we need them to make, but they've got to go forward and talk about the future.
Can you update that content?
And can you update that content? Yeah. Let's see. Oh, they had a VTT that never appeared. Okay, for 4th edition, but it was built to be in a digital space.
That's what I thought. I thought it had come out and not worked or something.
Right.
Because I created a ton of content for my next project, which is now not my next project, which hasn't been seen yet. And I wonder if I can add that into my past project as an expanded revision so that something happens with it. so it doesn't just disappear.
So Monkey Gold is also saying you can copyright the expression of the mechanics, the words describing them, and we've been we've talked about that quite a bit, and that the SRD is a expression of those rules. It's the canonical expression of those rules. And I was preparing to put out a video on that subject about why that's actually important, because a lot of people, will say that, oh, well, do you really need to quote from it? Well, you do in certain circumstances, for sure, because Brian Dancy talked about the idea of templating and how that was the way to make a good game. That by the time that every time a rule needs to come up, it needs to be written in a game, it needs to be written the exact same way. So you always read the exact same rules for any mechanic that's trying to reference. And he was saying Magic the Gathering was the poster child for that. That's what they did. That every time that there was supposed to be a rule on a card, they were supposed to template that and make sure that it was written the same way, because you don't want multiple versions trying to say the same thing. So that's what you would do internally to a publisher. Like if we're publishing D&D stuff, every time we got a certain rule, write it the exact same way. Here's the template. But what this does is it allows other publishers to also use that exact same template, because other people are saying, well, just rewrite it in your own words. But then you're not templating, you're not doing good game design. If you have 50 different independent publishers, then they don't need 50 different ways, 50 different words to write how to make an attack or make a spell work. They need the exact same words. And that's what makes everything interoperable. There are also a lot of people in my comments I was noticing that will say something like, so the solution is easy. You should just rewrite the SRD in your own words. Problem solved. Well, that doesn't solve the templating issue. And also, easy and just are doing a whole lot of work in those sentences. That you should just rewrite the rules of Dungeons and Dragons in your own words. Like, that's not something you can just do easily. And you weren't supposed to. And that's what the open OGL was supposed to do. That was the solution to that problem. RJ Stone says, I'm concerned that part of the new OGL required creators to tell wizards what they are working on. I am concerned that part of the new OGL required creators to tell wizards what they are working on. Seem like they are setting up the ability to gatekeep who can publish with an approval system, which would be completely against the spirit of the OGL and open gaming in general. So yeah, if there's one thing about, well, you got to get some kind of approval before you publish, but not, hey, we're developing this and we're starting to work on this. I did not know that term. The Disco option says templating is a good word to describe the problem with the rules. Not heard it before. I had not either until Ryan Dancy used that term. And so that's the term of what he was trying to accomplish and a principle of good game design. Right. Yes. Daniel, the SRD is like 400 pages long. Right. Good freaking luck with that. Right. That's exactly right. It's not something you can just sit down and do. Because it reminds me of the stuff that, when you're supposed to do in school to not plagiarize things. Okay. Read it, understand it. Now put it aside and put it over there face down. Now write what just happened in your own words. Like you're supposed to do that with the entire SRD. No. So it's a good thing. Like I said, I gain more and more respect for what the OGL is, what it's trying to do for all of these things, the longer this goes on. How about you on that side, Lou? I mean, of course, we're all exposed to the OGL a lot more now, but I have so much respect for what was done in 2000.
I'm sitting here thinking, like, toss some polyhedral plastic on a tabletop such that it tumbles.
Right.
But I want to flash back to the other thing that occurs to me is that Cobalt Press just announced today that Black Flag goes into playtesting in February. I don't know if you saw that. They have actually been developing it since the summer of last year. So it's a lot further along than I thought. And they debuted some artwork from Will O'Brien, who I love, and announce the playtest this next month. So that's the other thing that this olive branch, this olive branch that may be a Trojan horse from Wizards does, is it tries to shift the conversation away from what everyone else is doing, from the Orc, from Black Flag, from Mark Tassin's Cool Name RPG, which I hope when it finally comes out is still called Cool Name RPG.
that would be great.
I don't think they'll find a better name than that.
I
But,
have a
you
feeling
know,
like that's going to
placeholder.
stick.
But you know, the other thing they're trying to do is get people back on their side, excited to talk to them about them in their playground, and pull energy and support away from these other projects.
Yeah, we should look at that Kobold Press announcement. We should do that because there are 2 game development projects that we're following here, that I'm following and want to follow on this channel. One is the Cool Name RPG that Mark Tassin is doing, and he's got supposedly a big announcement that might have already come out, but announcing.
Yes, he announced the list of people working on it.
He announced the list of designers, the consultant designers. So there's that information coming out. So we're watching Cool Name RPG, and then we're also watching Black Flag, which is what Kobold was doing.
And while
let's look up the Kobold
is developing the orc, we still don't know what Paizo is going to do with Pathfinder.
Right. Well, they said that Pathfinder would be published under the orc when it was complete.
Okay. So are they? Is it Pathfinder 2.5 or is it still Pathfinder 2?
My understanding is 2. I haven't seen anything about 2.5 or new release of Pathfinder.
All right.
That I haven't seen anything about that. We don't know. They just said they would release Pathfinder publish Pathfinder, the Pathfinder books under orc when it was complete. So Jag100 says people want to stop templating in a community that consistently arguing how these exact wordings should be ruled. These people are called rules lawyers for a reason. Exactly. And if you're trying to run Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering, the templating of the rules is really important. Clockwork says new live stream concept for Heath. Spend 8 hours a day for a year rewriting the SRD. Okay, so yeah, let's do. I meant to bring that up and I forgot. So let's go over here to the Kobold Press thing and let's talk about that and read that. If people have not seen that, let me bring that up because I am interested in following this and talking to them about this as well. So Project Black Flag update. So this is Kobold's Press RPG sticking to our principles. We want to start by saying thank you. Let me take down this right here. We want to start by saying thank you for all of the outpouring of love and support this last week. Project Black Flag is sailing new waters toward its next destination, and we aim to continue to update you weekly. Special thanks to William O'Brien for staying up all night listening to Man of War and painting our feelings into this beautiful piece of art. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So that's what's up here on the screen. Special thanks to William O'Brien for
both of my covers. I love his work.
He did both of your covers?
He did both my covers.
Oh.
All 3 of my covers, actually all 4 of my covers, because he did the cover for the new one.
Oh, well, cool. So this is his work right here, and then
he
has custom Black Flag inspired artwork. Well, that is cool. I hope that becomes the cover for the book, or at least used someplace. We'll see. William painted the image shown here for our passion for Black Flag, for Project Black Flag, and what it stands for in the community. That is cool. We know you've got questions. We've got some answers. So what exactly is Project Black Flag? Project Black Flag is the code name for an upcoming Kobold Press new core fantasy RPG system available to any publisher or creator who accepts the terms of the soon-to-be-released Open RPG Creative License, or ORC. So this will be under ORC. This is new, open, perpetual, and irrevocable Open RPG Creative License, ORC, was announced on January 12, 2023, and will be shared with the community soon. Kobold Press expects to support both print and digital formats for Project Black Flag's final release, and Deep Magic, both volumes, will be forward compatible with Black Flag rule system. Didn't they just release that?
No, Deep Magic, the Kickstarter just launched. I backed it yesterday.
The Kickstarter, yeah.
Deep Magic was originally a standalone book, came out last year or a year before. It hasn't been out long, but they're revising the first book, expanding it, and putting out a sequel book, and the 2 are together in a slipcase cover if you back at the top level. Or one of the high levels. And but I didn't know until today that it's because I was wondering, they're launching a massive 5th edition project. I didn't realize it was going to be forwards compatible. So that's fantastic.
Well, and it would make sense if you said they've been working on this longer than we thought.
Yeah.
That they've had that in the works. So that's great. I got to back that. I've been seeing the emails going about the.
I just backed it. I wasn't originally going to back it because I'm investigating a number of new systems right now, and but I love Kobold Press, and I usually back what they do, and then when I saw it cross 200,000, I just got a F Hasbro moment and backed it because I want them to have a huge Kickstarter and not report anything.
We need, all right, I gotta back that too. Then what about the open part? Project Black Flag will support open RPG content under the Open RPG creative license usable by anyone. The open content will be released after playtests conclude. When are the playtests coming? We aim to release the first phase of the Black Flag playtest pack in February 2023. To receive information on the playtest process, please fill out the form here. More phases, and I did get in on that. More phases of Project Black Flag playtesting will roll out over the next few months as we build up to a Kickstarter. Your review and comments will help shape the game's final form. How do I playtest in person? Gen Con 2023 is right around the corner, and we need volunteer GMs to help us with our first convention playtests of Black Flag. To volunteer for GMing and even earn convention badges or accommodations for Gen Con 2023. Sign up today. Oh, well, maybe I need to sign up for that one too. Everybody might just swarm that one. That sounds like a good deal. Who is working on it? Celeste Konowich, our senior game designer, is the lead on the game design for this new fantasy RPG. She's been working on Project Black Flag behind the scenes since the summer of 2002. Oh, so that's where that information is. Summer 2002. So this is not something that's being put together last minute. Perfect time to announce
2022, right?
2022.
Yeah, not 2002.
Oh, not 2002. This has been a long time in development.
They were really prescient.
But perfect time to announce it, though. They're probably like, oh, my God, we have the PR opportunity. Additional designers and developers are currently engaged in the project, as well as several partners for the community. We will have more announcements on the creative team and project partners soon. So how can I support Project Black Flag now? We know you're excited to raise the new Black Flag and support open gaming. Although Project Black Flag is still in early stages, you can support our ongoing efforts for an open core fantasy RPG system and the orc today. As of today, Project Black Flag logo is available on various merchandise in our TeePublic store. We'll check that out. In addition, over at the Kobold Press store, every purchase of a printed product will include a free Project Black Flag sticker while supplies last. In addition, as with any new system, there will be a lot of playtesting, and we need your help. Sign up for playtesting. So sign up there. So what is the logo? That right there.
That's not the logo.
That's not the logo?
That's TeePublic. You're showing TeePublic.
Well, no, I know. It said today. That's not a link though. It says that it's available on various merchandise at TeePublic.
Yeah.
So that's not the Black Flag logo?
Maybe it is. I don't think so.
Okay. Let's go.
I've got to jump. I'm sorry. I've got to run pick up a child.
Okay.
And take a child somewhere else.
Okay, great. Yeah, we were. I'm going to check out what's going on in the comment section. Thank you so much for showing up, and I want to see what's going on with Cool Name.
Absolutely. And can I, on the way out the door, can I say, everybody, please go check out Jess Nevin's Kickstarter, Fury of the Northmen, which is a historically accurate RPG about Vikings in England in 100 AD. And looks awesome and launched today and has not met its funding goal yet. And everyone should check it out and support it because it's also 5th edition compatible.
Okay. I need to check that out. So that's 2 Kickstarters. We got to go back.
Yep. Jess Nevin's Fury of the Northmen and Deep Magic from Kobold Press.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Lou. All right. Well, that was a surprise. Always good to talk to Lou. I'm over here. I'll go to the comments in just one second. But I wanted to know if there's going to be some type of right here. So 1 hour ago. So this is the announcement from Mark Tassin. It says, we're working with legends of the RPG industry and the most brilliant new designers to develop a brand new fantasy RPG system, and when we're done, we're giving it away for free. Follow along as we build the system from the ground up. Oh, this is a big announcement. Okay. Follow this part from the ground up. Join in the conversation to help influence the design decisions and be the first to get your hands on the playtest material. Together, we'll create something magical for an entire community to enjoy. After all, isn't that what gaming is all about? A key part of this project is our consulting designers, and we're pleased to introduce you to 8 of them today in alphabetical order. Tanya Kristen Fenley. So here is the image right here. So that's Mark, who's been on the stream. He's a friend of ours. Friend of mine. Friend of ours, I hope. As well. Tanya is a skilled designer experienced in both tabletop and game designs. She's the co-author of the Game Narrative Toolbox, holds a PhD in literature and creative writing. There's a lot of PhDs floating around here. And she's the owner of Schnoodle Media, LLC, offering writing, editing, and consulting story service. Matt Forbeck. Matt Forbeck is an award-winning and New York Times best-selling author and game designer. He has over 30 novels and countless games published to date. His recent work includes Halo, Bad Blood, The New Dungeons & Dragons, Endless Quest books, Life is Strange, Welcome to Blackwell, the new Star Wars Rogue One Junior novel. Oh, another Star Wars credit. Dungeonology, the Marvel Encyclopedia. Wow, a whole bunch of stuff. He's also the writer and co-designer of the upcoming Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. Oh, there's a Marvel RPG coming out. Figures. DBJ has designed game content for a host of systems, including 5th edition, Pathfinder 1E, basic role-playing, and the story path. He's the author of nearly 30 books, including the fantastic Cinematic Environs collection. He's the host of the YouTube show RPG with DBJ. Eloy Lacenta. Eloy Lacenta is an Emmy-nominated game designer, the owner of Third Eye Games, and one of the instructors at Central Michigan University's game design program. He's been involved in gaming for more than 20 years, and his outstanding work has appeared in more than 100 role-playing titles. Stephen S. Long, a writer and RPG designer for 30 years, during which he's been written over 200 gaming books, short stories, and nonfiction books. He's known for his work on the award-winning Hero system. We got to look at the Hero system on the stream. Although he's written for Aberrant, Deadlands, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings role-playing game as well, Wheel of Time. He's got a lot of credits there. Monica Marlowe, Paizo RPG Superstar winner and the author of the highly rated Pathfinder adventure module Down the Blighted Path. Crystal Malzer, freelance game designer whose work has appeared in products by Onyx Path, Third Eye Games, and a lot more. And then ONCK Stevens. I don't know a lot of these people, but I feel like I should. ONCK, that's probably because I'm not as connected to all of the inside of the game community as might be nice. ONCK Stevens is a full-time game designer, developer, publisher, and consultant. He served as the co-producer of the Star Wars Saga role-playing game, Pathfinder, lead designer for Paizo, Freeport, and Pathfinder developer for Green Ronin, and Wright Publishing. Well, I mean, that seems like an all-star cast. So that's 2 systems, Black Flag and Cool Name RPG, that we are working on. All right, let's go over to the comments for just a few more minutes and see what's going on, and then we will wrap up. Let's see. So Super Desi says, on the subject of who's going to own the orc. I believe the intention of the orc being owned by a nonprofit organization is what the OGL spirit has migrated to. As long as a corp owns the OGL, we're going to have this issue. Or specifically an entity. It said that, an entity that was not in the public tabletop game publishing industry. So somebody who doesn't have an interest in that. And that's why I did ask if this was a natural evolution. Because in a perfect world, if Wizards of the Coast wanted to update a license, wanted to update the OGL and said, you know what, I have this new idea for the OGL. It's the spirit. Maybe there are some things that we can do that are better. One of them might be putting the OGL in the hands of somebody else. So here is OGL 1.0B or whatever it is with some updated wording that we think is better. And then here we go. We're going to hand this to a nonprofit. That could have been the case. And then, so that's why I was wondering if it's an evolution. But I do like Ryan Dancy's commentary that we can talk about what comes later, but we need clarity. We need Wizards clarity on 1.0A. And I did think that Lou's comments about trying to bring the conversation in-house is a good one. I think that was a good one. Right. The Desco option says, not looking forward to roll a 20-side die to see if your attack succeeds in 50 different variants. Right. Yeah, exactly. Maybe even the word attack might have to change to something like strike. Maybe. But see, this is what the conversation becomes, right? Like what Winslash is saying here. And other people are like, well, now how different is different? How different does it need to be? Well, there's no hard answer for that, right? You're operating in a gray area again. And the OGL is supposed to prevent that gray area. It's supposed to prevent that ambiguity. That's what it was supposed to do. So we don't even have to have that discussion. Let's see. See, I don't think that's Mill says, how do you feel if you don't publish under ORC nor OGL? Oh, if you don't publish under ORC nor OGL2 and then you get sued by the ORC Trust. Do they do that? Right. Yes. Tim Cummins says, Pathfinder 2 from the Paizo announcement. While the Open RPG creative license is being finalized, we'll print Pathfinder and Starfinder products without any license. And we need to look at Starfinder on this channel as well. Warbeer says, personally, I want to see WotC fall so bad that Hasbro decides to sell it. Yeah, see that, that's a problem in general, that what happens to all the things that we like, all our franchises, all of our trademarks, all the properties that we're all fans of. It seems like over time, it's always aggregation. It seems the trend seems to be to aggregation. Everything gets owned by some larger and larger corporation. Everything is aggregated together. And there isn't a whole lot that reverses that trend. Well, right, exactly. And Mill's like, exactly. Like what I was just talking about, trending toward extreme aggregation of all of this. The issue will be, what if all the D&D IP ends up at Disney? It'll be another thing that would end up at Disney. Another thing. All right. Companion Mouse. They can do whatever they want with the new license, even call it open if they want, but they must continue to allow the use of OGL 1.0a. They must be clear on that. I'm bringing all these people up or a lot of people who say that, because that's it. That's so much of a factor. We're getting Interlight. Yeah, we're getting a proliferation of RPGs here. Some will become popular, some will not, but there's some that I'm interested in following. So, of course, we're making one here on the channel. That's kind of small time compared to a Cool Name RPG and Black Flag. But yeah. The Companion Mouse says, WotC wants us to jump ship from D&D. Our numbers are a drop in the bucket compared to all the new fans. That seems to be, that could be one of the strategies they were thinking about. Well, do we really need all these people who have been playing Dungeons and Dragons for decades? Do we really need them? If we're about to release this mega mass market movie and we turn Dungeons and Dragons into a brand like Marvel, will there be enough new people who just come in and have no idea what's going on and all subscribe, and that's it? Will that be the case? Stephen Paul says, when does the wind down start? I'm thinking 7:30 p.m. Central. 7:30 p.m. Central. Azora Law will own Orc. Brian Lewis. The wind down is supposed to be a chill place to end the day. We talk about geek stuff too, but hopefully it's a chill place to end the day. But I want to use it as a forum. We talk about geek stuff, so obviously the thing to talk about is sort of reflecting on this, and especially in the context of Bob's conversation as well. So Azora Law, L says, with the Open D&D logo up, will own Orc. Brian Lewis, original lawyer who authored the OGL, works for Azora Law. It would be great to talk to him. Has he been doing any like podcasts or live streams or anything like that? I do not. We've just read that Justin Account says, I don't believe that any mechanics have been announced. I think it's just coming soon. But you can sign up for the playtest, which I did. Well, that would be going nuclear. Kirk says, just imagine if Hasbro does that. I mean, that would go nuclear. And hopefully at that point, Pathfinder would, Paizo would follow up with its declaration that it would file suit. Warbeer also said, we don't want to get into what's the true version or not, but I did play a lot of second edition. Played a lot of third edition too, even though I don't remember it quite as well, but I remember playing a lot of second edition. We played a lot of second edition. Okay, Starfinder's cool. I don't play a lot of science fiction RPGs, so Pathfinder. So we need to look at Starfinder. People have asked me about it. I loved what I saw out of the Pathfinder box. So did I? I know. I'm sorry about that. At first, yes, I'm sorry about that. You called out my name in a funny manner. I'm sorry about that. I'm sure I did. I know you can't pronounce it since it's Dutch, so the sounds of most vowels don't line up. Give me a DM in Discord if you want more info. Okay, we'll try to remember that. Or DM me at the pronunciation. I've got a lot of stuff to catch up on in the DMs, but I'll see it. Yeah, I'm sorry. A lot of times, when you're live streaming, you realize sometimes there are all these words that you haven't pronounced publicly that you read, but you haven't pronounced. And then sometimes, yes, people's names and things like that. So I'm very sorry if I get people's names wrong. Okay, well, I think that was a fantastic conversation. I've got to go and do other things tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's process this. And then let's do a wind down tonight at 7:30. I got to go do creative stuff. I'm also going to be clipping stuff from the Bob Tarantino interview. If you need more stuff to watch or you're looking to listen to something, definitely watch the Bob Tarantino live stream. I'm going to be clipping it. I want to get that done because I want that information out there in a more digestible form. But it's about an hour and 20 minutes long, the whole thing. Definitely worth listening to if you're interested in the legal side of this. I would definitely listen to it. It was an excellent interview. So, all right. I'll see everybody tonight in a few hours. Have a good, productive rest of the day.